We have to prepare for a more angry world.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth.
The puppet master narrative. It's a big problem at the moment. And in this video, I'm going to explain why and why you shouldn't be listening to people who are telling you that the Matrix or the puppet masters are out to get you. I put this video off for a long time because there's a lot of people that I look up to in this online space, but they use this narrative to sell things, and I think that it is bad and it's not what is good for people. I'm just here to offer my paradigm based on how I see this. Right, so there's people online that will say to you, hey, the puppet masters control you, or hey, the Matrix controls you, or hey, the World Economic Forum is out to get you, or the people at the top, BlackRock, and all, they control your existence, and the reason that you're suffering so much and the reason that your life is so shitty is because of the puppet masters, right? You know, you'll hear things like the Great Reset, this sort of conspiracy thing, and it's gone too fucking far. I have no problem with clever marketers using fear to make money, because people have done that since the dawn of time. It's human nature and it's fair enough. But the problem I have is that it peddles a narrative of the absolution of responsibility from the individual. Let's say I sell a $997 course or a $1,000 course through my YouTube channel, and part of my pitch is, look, you're not in a good place right now. Your life sucks. You're broke. You're miserable. You haven't got a girlfriend. You're sad. I know you very well. I pick apart all of the things you hate about your life and repeat them back to you so you feel bad. And then I say, well, don't worry, because it's not your fault. The reason this is all happening to you and the reason that you're so miserable is because of the puppet masters. The people who have been pulling the strings behind the scenes of society and, you know, advocating for you to do bad things and putting bad things in your diet and putting bad things in front of you. And, you know, it's not your fault that you're like this. It's the puppet masters. And what if you buy my course, I'm going to show you how you can build yourself out of this rut and this puppet master thing, and you know, you can put the middle finger. That's the narrative for selling courses at the moment. It's the meta, so to speak, right? And I'm sure you all know who the culprit is, and don't get me wrong, those people, I admire them, I like them, I respect them, but this narrative it's fucking dangerous, because what it does is it makes impressionable young men think and believe that they are not responsible for their life and their existence. Because as human beings, we are naturally inclined to point the finger of responsibility to someone else. If we're not happy and if we're not where we want to be, then we always want to look externally to try and find a reason as to why that's happened to us. We like to be afflicted, or we like to think that something else has caused the problem that we're facing. And what that does is it massively inhibits the ability for you to take responsibility, or for us as a society to take responsibility individually for our problems. And so if you become convinced by someone that's more successful than you that the reason that you're not successful and you haven't achieved their level of success is because of the puppet masters, then you can't do anything. Because until you believe it's your fault, until you take personal responsibility for your life and your existence, and you look yourself in the mirror and you say, I am where I am because of my actions and nobody else's. Until you do that, it's impossible to win. It's impossible to climb out of the rut you're in. The first step to growth and progress in any realm of human endeavor, to use an Andrew Tate quote, why the fuck not? Because it kind of fits. The first way to do it is to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you are the problem. It is my fault. And this is the true within your business, your health, your family life, your relationship. Even if there's things that have happened to you that you have afflicted you, or that you feel like you're a victim of, you still need to just turn around and say, no, it's my own fucking fault that happened to me. There's some shit that has happened to me recently, and then I just sort of reflect on it and I was like, do you know what? Actually, that's my responsibility. It was an external thing that was outside of my control. But had I positioned myself better in life and not put myself in a certain circumstance that allows it to happen to me, it wouldn't have. Now, there's an element where you could argue, okay, Charlie, but you know, if someone dies and I get sad about it, that's not my fault. All right, whatever. The point here is it's very easy to get distracted from this puppet master thing, because the puppet master narrative, or the Matrix narrative, or the World Economic Forum, or you know, the Illuminati, whatever fucking group you want to call these people, whatever, you know, arbitrary thing that, you know, we think exists, it's not healthy for people to think that that exists. Now, don't get me wrong, maybe there is a small group of people that make, you know, big macroeconomic decisions that are self-centered and, you know, it negatively impact the societies at large. Maybe that exists, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. But what I do know is that the second that you believe the reason you are where you are is because of something else other than yourself, you strip yourself of all power and you strip yourself of all control you have over your life. And that's really fucking dangerous. It's kind of like, you know, I was bullied real bad in secondary school. So from the ages of 11 to 12, I was, you know, mentally, physically abused by, you know, my peers, and it was pretty horrible. And, you know, I played the victim of that until I was about 17 years old, 18 years old. I believe that like, I'm addicted to video games because of the bullies, because I don't want to face bullies, or I'm not eating healthily because of the bullies, or I'm not exercising because I'm too afraid because of the bullies. You see the point. And then one day I sort of thought to myself, where I am right now is not because I got bullied, but because I let the bullying impact my psychological state to strip me of the power and responsibility to actually do the work to get something done. As soon as I made that realization, and this has also happened in other aspects of my life, my health, my relationship, my family life, etc., as soon as I looked in the mirror and thought, do you know what? You're responsible for this. Like, don't get me wrong, 11-year-old me, I couldn't say I was responsible for getting bullied. I was an easy target, right? You obviously at that point in your life, you don't have much responsibility or control, so it's just nature, right? But what you do have the responsibility of is your response to that as an adult. This is why the puppet master thing is dangerous, because if you buy the narrative that you aren't where you want to be, or you are where you are because of something other than you and your actions and your personal responsibility, life is going to be very difficult for you, my friend. So, okay, if there's these puppet masters that are pulling the strings and, you know, making life impossible for you, like, what are they actually doing that is afflicting you so badly that you can't pull yourself out of the rut and take responsibility? Oh, well, maybe they run the Instagram algorithms so that I see more half-naked girls, so I'm more likely to go on porn, and then that strips me of my testosterone, so I can't get a relationship. And it's puppet masters, they're doing that so that men are unable to, you know, have relationships and destroy men. Fuck off. Fuck off. That is so, like, maybe there's a world in which that's true. Maybe it is, right? But when you critically think about it, just fucking delete Instagram. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, well, the puppet masters, like, they control the news, and like, and then they're like pushing all these leftist narratives, and like, you know, they're making everyone want to eat vegan so that, like, you know, our testosterone goes down, and then we're not, like, we can't be true men because they want to control us, and like blah blah blah. And like, now I feel like I can't be a man, and I can't get what I want because of the news. Fuck off! Stop watching the news then. Dude, this needs to fucking stop, man, because you are responsible. Until you believe this, you're fucked. Until you believe that you are responsible and in control of your life, you will never be able to change. For as long as you're blaming OnlyFans models, leftist media, fucking porn, or, oh, well, you know, I actually think maybe it's the puppet masters, it's their fault because, you know, they allow for alcohol to be sold in the supermarkets, and like, you know, they know that young men are going to drink alcohol because that's what they do, so they should stop. Like, the reason that I'm an alcoholic, or the reason I've got a problem with porn, or the reason that I've got a problem with building relationships, or the reason I can't make money is because the puppet masters, they set up the school system so that we were doomed to fail, and they put us into this, you know, industrial revolution. Fuck off. It is all your fault. If your life is not good and you're not happy with it, it is your fault. Now, there might be shit that's happened to you. Maybe you had a troubled childhood. Maybe you got bullied. Maybe something awful happened to you. Maybe someone died. And that's awful. And there's traumatic stuff that happens to you that impacts the trajectory of your life and can hinder your ability for you to achieve growth and success. But it can't stop you. It can slow you down and it can hurt you. But ultimately, like, it is your responsibility to point at yourself in the mirror and say, I am not happy with my life and it's all your fault. And you look back at yourself. But for as long as you blame the news or Instagram or OnlyFans models or fucking veganism or anything, for as long as you blame anything that isn't you, you're in some trouble, my friend. And you're never ever going to be able to achieve success. The amount of power that you will feel, because you can point in the mirror now and say what's your fault, but if you don't believe it, it should feel empowering. You should look at yourself in the mirror and be like, holy mother of God, like, it is my fault. Oh, it's my fault. Everything that's happened to me, my entire state of my life is my fault. I'm responsible for it. Because it then equips you with the responsibility. Because then you've got control, you've got power. Because if you say it's your fault, then you can start to do things to change. But if you're not convinced it's your fault, you can never do anything to change it, because you will never be able to change your behavior, because you'll never ever have a reason to do it. Because if you believe that you're just buggered because of the fucking puppet masters, and it's the puppet masters' reason why you're not successful, until there's no puppet masters, you'll never be successful. And so you're never going to try. Your unconscious brain is very rooted in its ways. If it believes that the puppet master is the reason, then it will never allow you to behave in a way that is out of conjunction with that belief. It's called practice. I just want to repeat, I know I've repeated the same thing over and over again here, but there are people on the internet who will use the puppet master narrative and who will use the great reset. So there's a great reset coming, and the economic state is awful. But if you buy my course, you're not going to be a victim to it anymore, and we're going to beat the puppet masters. No, you need to beat yourself. You don't need to beat your puppet masters. You need to beat your past. The past sense of self that has accrued all of this shitty psychological weight and this tissue that you must fucking shed yourself off. It's called ecstasy, shedding skin, all right? I don't know who needs to hear this video. I know that it goes against some of the people that are popular in the space, so maybe it will be a controversial one, but this needs to stop. It needs to stop, because for as long as like there are people convincing people that their problems aren't because of them, then that's going to create a problem in general, right? Not the most articulate way of putting it, but I hope you can understand where I'm coming from. So I'm not attacking anyone. I've got respect for online marketers that use fear and scarcity and shit like that, because ultimately that's always been happening, and you can fucking get customers that way. It's fine, right? Each their own. But for me, the problem, I draw the line with someone saying, you aren't where you want to be because of someone else. So if you buy my thing, we'll beat that person. No. It can't be that way. It can be, because it works, but I wanted to share this because maybe you need to hear it. Until you admit to yourself, you don't have to admit it to anyone else, you have to admit it to yourself. Until you look in the mirror and say, do you know what, this shitty life, this state of existence that I'm miserable with is my fault. Until you do that, you can't do anything to change it. Trust me, buying a $997 or a $2,000 course because someone convinced you it's the Puppet Masters won't work. Because these marketers, they know that. They know that you're miserable, and they know that you don't want to blame yourself because that's painful. They know you want to sit in a state of delusion. They know you want to sit through psychological Freudian pain avoidance, and so they will peddle narratives and messages that perfectly align with the initial conditions of your psychological state. And because you want to hear it, you want to believe it, you naturally do. It's dangerous and it's toxic. And in my opinion, it's borderline Machiavellian and wrong. So that's everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to comment, subscribe, and like, by all means do that. If you want to buy my thing, there's a link to do it in the description, but I'm not going to tell you that the Puppet Masters are the reason you should buy it. We help clients, agencies, and coaching consultants acquire more clients. If you want to check it out, you can click the first link. If you don't want to, you don't have to click it. I don't care. It's fine. It's up to you. Have a good day. I hope this one found you well. Cheers.